last time you bought a car, or maybe a new phone? Over the last couple of decades, the productivity needed to build that thing it just soared.
Absolutely. Automation, new tech, efficiency programs, it's all there.
Right. They've shaved off costs, they've sped up delivery. Now compare that to building, say, a massive oil platform or a refinery.
A completely different world.
It is. Global productivity growth in heavy construction has averaged barely 1% per year. It's just standing still.
And to make it worse, get this, almost 80% of major oil and gas projects fail to deliver on time or within budget.
80%. That is a staggering number.
It's chronic, it's systemic inefficiency, and today we are going deep into your sources to figure out why. Our mission here is to unpack the reasons for this and explore two major solutions, lean construction and the power of AI.
And that 80% failure rate, it's not just, bad planning. It's really a symptom of complexity overload.
Complexity overload. Yeah, these O&G assets are usually one-of-a-kind projects. They're built in some of the world's most difficult places, physically, geographically, and, well, often politically.
Right.
You add in volatile market prices, these incredibly complex supply chains, and the traditional way of managing projects, it just breaks. It completely collapses under the weight.
Okay, so let's unpack this. If the old way is failing, where do we start looking for answers? And the sources point to something from completely outside the industry, right? Lean.
Exactly. Lean thinking, it started in the Japanese manufacturing industry after World War II, specifically the Toyota Production System, or TPS.
Born out of necessity, I imagine.
Completely. The question was, how do you build high-quality cars with very limited resources? So the whole goal was to create maximum value for the customer with the lowest possible cost. It's all about ruthlessly minimizing waste.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. How does a philosophy that's designed for mass-producing identical cars apply to building a one-off, bespoke oil platform that might take 5 years?
Because the principles are about the process, not the product. They're philosophical. Lean just gives you a way to think, and it's based on 5 core steps.
Why?
First, you have to identify value. You have to define exactly what the customer, the asset owner, actually cares about. If a step in the process doesn't add to that, it's waste.
Okay.
Simple as that.
And second,
You map the value stream. You literally chart every single step from the first sketch to final commissioning.
Yeah.
And you label everything. Is this value adding or non-value adding?
That sounds like a painful exercise, holding a mirror up to all your bad habits.
It is,
Yeah.
but it's necessary. Third, you create flow. So once you've stripped out all the non-value junk, you make sure the steps that are left happen smoothly. No interruptions, no delays, no bottlenecks.
Which is everything in construction, right? Interruptions are constant.
They are. And that leads to the fourth principle, establish pull, which is maybe the biggest mind shift for traditional construction.
Because it reverses how we schedule everything.
Totally. The old push schedule says, okay, we think we'll need 100 pipes in May, so let's order them in March. They show up, they sit in the yard, get rained on, moved 3 times.
Damaged, lost.
All of that. It's just massive inventory waste. The pull system says you only order those 100 pipes when the crane hook is literally empty and the crew is ready for them. Nothing gets delivered until the next step needs it.
And the final principle is the ongoing part.
Right. Seek perfection. The continuous improvement process, or Kaizen, you never stop looking for waste. And that's why the incentive is so big. The sources say lean can cut construction costs by up to 15%, often with a pretty low initial investment.
To find that 15%, though, you have to know where to look. Where is the O&G sector really bleeding time and money?
Well, the research zeroes in on this, on the specific pain points, the muda in the EPC world.
And the findings are, frankly, a bit damning, because the problems aren't really about tech, they're organizational. Industry participants listed 5 critical wastes, and number 1, by a long shot, is the long approval process.
Wait, so the biggest source of waste is bureaucracy?
Pretty much. Too many departments, too many stakeholders, just a huge clog in the system. And that suggests that the solution isn't just about getting a tool to a worker faster.
You've hit on the core challenge right there.
Exactly, because the other wastes are all symptoms of that clog. Next is waiting due to work not completed by others, a classic flow problem. Then, time for supervising and inspecting, which is often redundant. And finally, 2 big ones, time for transporting materials and waiting for materials to be delivered. The whole system is just stop, start, stop, start.
It's a cascade of failures. And if you look at the barriers behind those wastes, the sources point to improper resource management and, there it is again, slow decision-making from these complex hierarchies.
That slow approval cycle is the bottleneck that just breaks everything downstream.
And then you have other hurdles, like a lack of tech adoption, and this is a big one, a lack of skills and training in Lean itself. It's hard to use a new philosophy if your team doesn't speak the language.
Which brings us to the cultural barriers. The sources mention this concept of making do.
Oh, this is a huge one. This is where crews will start a really high-risk job before everything's ready. Before the safety permit is signed or all the materials are there. They just try to work around the problem.
I can't even imagine the amount of rework that creates.
It's exponential. And it may be even worse is the waste of human potential. This includes what's called not speaking. Meaning the workers who are closest to the problem, the ones on the ground, who know exactly why a bolt doesn't fit, they're conditioned not to speak up.
Because they'll be labeled a complainer.
Exactly. And management's failure to actually use the skills of their employees is maybe the costliest waste of all. You're actively suppressing your best information.
So that raises the big question. On these multi-billion-dollar projects, how do you overcome that deeply entrenched, we've always done it this way culture?
The change has to be holistic. The sources talk about identifying critical success factors, or CSFs, to fight these barriers. They fall into 9 different groups, but they include things like guaranteed support from top management, continuous training, and the hardest part, driving real culture change.
So let's pivot to the practical side. What are the specific Lean tools that turn this philosophy into action on a site?
There are 3 main ones that pop up in the source material. First is the last planner system, or LPS.
That's the pull principle in action.
Exactly. Instead of wishful planning, you ask the crews, what can you reliably commit to finishing this week? It's about making promises you can keep, which improves workflow.
Okay, what's next?
Then you have the 5S process, which is often called the visual workplace. It's all about intense organization, sorting, straightening, shining, standardizing, sustaining.
So basically, if you waste 5 minutes looking for a tool,
That's waste. And finally, there's value stream mapping, or VSM. This is the visualization tool. You have to be able to see the waste before you can eliminate it, and VSM makes all that invisible lost time visible.
and the results from using these tools, they're not trivial.
No, not at all. They deliver huge quantifiable wins.
Right.
In one fast-track O&G project, applying these principles cut the completion time from 5.3 years down to just 3 years.
Wow, 2.3 years. That's not just saving time, that's getting an asset-generating revenue years earlier. It fundamentally changes the entire value of the project.
It's massive. And here's another one. A different mega project used LPS and 5S and got a 10% reduction in lead times. That yielded about $2.8 million per day.
Per day.
Per day in additional revenue from early production.
Suddenly, the investment in training and culture change looks like a bargain.
It is. And it's not just money. One firm's continuous improvement process, for example, dropped their total recordable injury rate from 1.7 down to 0.16 over 10 years. Efficiency and safety go hand in hand.
That's compelling. So Lean gives us the why eliminate waste and the what the tools. Now let's look at how AI is attacking the same problem, but from a different angle, in upstream drilling.
Right. So drilling has its own kind of inefficiency, and it's often centered on something called flat time.
Flat time.
It's the period when the drill bit isn't actually turning. You know, all the essential non-drilling stuff like running casing, cementation, installing the blowout preventer.
And I'm guessing this isn't just a small interruption.
Not at all. Flat time can be 30 to 40% of the total time it takes to construct a well. So the goal is to optimize that by targeting what's called invisible lost time, or ILT.
Invisible lost time.
It's all the non-productive time you know is happening, but you can't easily measure it. It's the 5-minute delay waiting for a signature, multiplied by 20 tasks a shift every single day. It adds up, and it can be over 35% of your total drilling time.
So if it's invisible, how is AI making it visible? How can you fix what you can't see?
Through data, a massive amount of data. One study analyzed 650 wells over 2,000 flat time sections to build these incredibly precise benchmarks. It identifies where every single second is being wasted.
And then AI comes in.
Then AI steps in. It provides a real-time tool that connects directly to rig sensors and planning info. And here's the key part. It sends optimization recommendations for parameters and time targets straight to the field crew.
And the speed is the magic here, right? This isn't an analysis you get a week later.
Exactly. The system processes the data and sends a recommendation in under 5 seconds, so the crew can make instant, proactive changes. It's like having a hyper-efficient expert looking over your shoulder 24/7.
The results must be pretty impressive.
They are. These tools have the potential for a 10 to 20% reduction in drilling capex, just from optimizing that invisible time. One project saw their drilling rate improvement index jump by over 29%.
So when you look at what AI is doing, it's really the technical muscle behind the lean philosophy. It's automating that seek perfection principle.
That's a great way to put it. It provides that continuous visualization of a value stream, but in real time, without paper.
So whether we're talking about these huge EPC projects or drilling, it seems like companies have to transform just to survive.
They do. They're facing rising complexity, carbon commitments, and, skeptical investors who want to see proof of returns.
And that demand for returns ties everything back to financial stability. At the end of the day, value isn't just about revenue growth, it's about capital efficiency.
Which is best measured by return on invested capital, or ROIC.
Right. It asks the simple question, for every dollar you invest, how much profit are you getting back?
And the data is crystal clear on this. The firms that succeed are the ones that balance growth with disciplined capital allocation, a high ROIC, and lean and AI.
Yeah.
They aren't just about saving a few bucks here and there. They're the methods you need to achieve that discipline and stay competitive.
A critical takeaway today seems to be that the biggest barriers to all this, to lean, to AI, are cultural. They're about skills. We talked about that waste of human potential.
That untapped potential is a goldmine.
So here's a final thought for you to mull over. If the greatest waste in the industry is bureaucracy and the suppressed voice of the person on the front line, what unseen waste of human potential exists in your organization? Who is that person conditioned not to speak up? Who, if you empowered them with these tools, could be the key to your own 15% cost reduction? That's the signal you need to find.